Hello everyone, it's Jack from VFXHUT, and today we'll be looking at adaptive sampling. So we're rendering at 1 minute 50. That's without denoiser, and that's with no adaptive sampling at all, but just 300 samples. So that's quite neat, in all fairness, for that already. But we can get that down using adaptive sampling. So let's see this with adaptive sampling on. So if I set that minimum samples to 64 and then just refresh, and we look at the noise, as soon as that 64 samples hits, we'll notice that the sky will stop being rendered and be left as it is because there's no noise. It's pretty clean. There we go. So now the render engine is going to stop wasting time in that area and just carry on with the rest of the image, which is great. So it just means that the 3D elements can start being rendered and there's no point in wasting time on that backdrop. As it's a relatively clean scene and it's a fast render anyway, I didn't want to spend too much time messing with the noise threshold because 0.3 is quite nice, and it'll literally sort that background out and any tiny little bits in the scene. So there we go. We've got it down from 1 minute 50 seconds to 1:12 just by leaving it on the default values. And that looks pretty clean to me. Again, there's little bits that could be tarted up with a denoiser, but yeah, that is perfect. If you did want to push it a bit further and you can live with a little bit of noise, then obviously we could crank this value a little bit to maybe something like that. And again, at that 64 samples, it'll stop rendering the sky because that is a big chunk of this image to be wasting samples on. So it's thinking that these bricks on this one are fairly nice and clean, which they are because it's getting blasted with a lot of light. So it's kind of a good thing with Octane. If you blast more light into a scene, it's probably going to be cleaner, the same way a camera works, I guess. There was a slight technical glitch with the graphics card, so I think it would potentially be a bit faster with that one. And even if it wasn't, that still saved a second, which again, in an animation, and if it was 4K, it's probably 5 or 6 seconds that you'd be saving. So, or maybe even more. So it's definitely worth it. And we've literally got that down from 1 minute 50 to 1 minute and 11 seconds, which is amazing. So hopefully you found this adaptive sampling useful. If you've got any questions, just let me know. But I think I've covered it in a basic sense, because I remember when I first saw it, I was like, what's going on? But green pixels means stop rendering, move on to the more noisy areas. So hopefully you found it useful, and I'll catch you on the next one.